आगे।
राज में कृष्ण भाई को कॉल किए।
हाँ जी।
ओम शांति।
ओम शांति।
बोलिए रंजी।
Om Shanti. A very good evening and a warm welcome to all the participants to today's refreshing Sunday evening talk. So, this is a series of enlightening and refreshing sessions on topics that touch our heart, mind, and the soul. So, today we will explore more about how loneliness is different from solitude. So, our today's topic, as you can see in our flyer, it's loneliness versus solitude. So, these are the times we all experienced something or in our personal lives, or it was experienced by our family members, friends. We were kind of locked down separately and we experienced certain bouts of being lonely. So, today we will try to figure out how to get out of those lonely feelings and how solitude can help us. So, for today's session, we have invited a very senior faculty of Brahma Kumaris. So, we have with us Brother Ramakrishna. So he is a management coach, a strategic advisor, meditator, and organizational psychologist. So brother is a psychologist and a management coach by profession, and he practices meditation, and that is his passion. So he believes the practices of modern psychology and the ancient meditation, if combined, can help us make our lives better. So he has over 35 years of experience with spirituality and an equally long career in counseling and as a psychologist. He's a speaker, and his TV shows on various topics giving deep insights on psychology and the spiritual aspects are showcased on various channels. He has a deep understanding of the psychological as well as the spiritual principles that cater to the mind and the mind matters. So we have a very senior faculty, and brother has requested to keep this session very interactive. So I would request all the participants to keep their questions ready, because brother will open the session to give a brief overview of the topic, and then the floor would be all yours. So we request you to keep your questions ready, put them in the chat box, and then it will be more of a dialogue. So it will be your questions, and we will hear the answers from brother. So with this, I would like to invite on stage, on the virtual stage, Brother Ramakrishna to delve deeper and let us know more about solitude versus loneliness. Thank you, brother, for joining us. Over to you.
Om Shanti. The very beautiful element of company for any individual. A person can enjoy to the deepest core is the company of themselves. When this company of the self can't be enjoyed much, it's very painful. Silence is an inner state of mind. Silence is the loudest voice and the deepest message. When a person can talk, can communicate through the message of silence, it reaches to the deepest core of the other person. Silence is a language in itself. We all listen, we are all well accustomed to understand, to communicate through this language of silence. Silence helps us to listen deeply. There are two things. One is the communication, the other one is the message. Everything that is communicated necessarily need not be the message. And it is possible sometimes that the communication is totally different from the message. That's why people say you need to read between the lines. You need to listen between the words. Communication means something, but what actually the person wants to say, which is the message, can be, it needs an ability to understand the message, and that's possible through silence. We all operate in different. Sometimes we operate at a very conscious level. Sometimes we operate at subconscious level. And naturally, the unconscious way of operation is totally different, is more biological. But the consciousness passes through these different stages in which we operate through our different states of minds. But in this whole process, we try to communicate with ourselves. We try to listen to ourselves. We try to experience ourselves. When can we actually feel ourselves? We can feel ourselves in our deeper sense or actual sense when we are in silence. In these times,
We are unable to hear, brother. If the audio can be checked once.
Experience ourselves in our most natural form, in our most simple form. It is at that time we get connected with the most wonderful person, the most giving person, a person who has the best good wishes, and that is we ourselves. But here, there's many things to understand. Are we connecting to our original and real feelings? Or are we connecting to something which is not ourselves? Then these thoughts come into our mind, which are very, very subtle and important. Are we different from what we are? It is not that we are different from what we are, but within ourselves, in the process of learning, in the process of developing, in the process of improving ourselves, in the process of experimenting, we sometimes consciously or very unconsciously bring some things into ourselves which may not connect to us. That is where a person finds the difficulty. That is where the person tries to focus on other elements like need for approval, like something like a need wherein which others should recognize or identify. These elements slowly crop into the person. As we get into today's topic, the situation of loneliness and the beautiful experience of solitude. In silence, a person is in solitude. The person is with himself or herself. And the person very sweetly, very deeply connects with the own self. And then everything becomes very clear. All the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the ideas, perceptions, memories. And the person is able to visualize, feel, experience all of them in their real perspective, real dimension. As the person is observing that state of solitude and that state of mindfulness, then the person recognizes so many intrinsic good qualities. Explains us that we are all adorned with so many divine qualities, powers, arts, skills, of course, we learn and practice. But intrinsically, we have so many wonderful qualities. Sometimes the question comes, do we really recognize those qualities? Are we experiencing those qualities? Do we acknowledge them? Do we have time for ourselves? The complaint presently, when people reach out and then they explain that we are not getting time, parents don't have enough time for the children, children don't have enough time for the parents. In this whole process, do we really have time for ourselves? When we have time for ourselves, we listen to ourselves. A person who can listen to themselves can listen to others also. A person who can speak to themselves well can also speak to others well. It is always inside out, not from outside to in. The lesser you speak, the more you are listened to. Here, this sweetness of solitude in any field or in any situation, in any relationship, solitude has a very, very important role to play. A scientist has all the knowledge. The scientist has all the wisdom. And now, he needs to connect with something. She needs to connect with something. Then the discovery takes place. Then the invention takes place. And to get connected to something, what actually happens behind? The person slowly withdraws from all the external things and connects to the thought process, connects to the deeper core of analysis, where all the elements of knowledge is brought into the surface of the mind. And then the subconscious starts connecting with each and everything, and conscious interpretations takes place, and a lot of mental involvement takes place. Look, this is solitude. The person is deeply connected to something. Their own internal process starts. A student in the time of examinations, especially, or when the person is studying something, learning something, deeply the person connects. There is silence. Even when you're going to start a marathon or a sprint, at that time, everyone are on the mark, set. Everyone are waiting for something, just for that bullet to release and that sound to come at that time. All are ready. What actually is happening behind? See the wonderful process which is going on inside. The person, the whole biology, the whole psychological element, the conscious, subconscious, all the whole mechanism is integrating. That few seconds are wonderful. The deep silence and deep connectivity which is taking place. In that connectivity, in that deeper state, that waiting becomes very, very powerful. The same thing happens in life. As we involve into each and every activity, we definitely need to give that little space. We do listen to this word again and again when people say, please, I need some space. Okay, and now there's a contradiction here. One is I'm feeling lonely, another thing on the other side, I also need space. What does it mean? It's not about external loneliness. It is about something internal. It is not about external presence of people. It is more about something more about internal acceptance. Solitude is a state wherein which the person takes that space. That space can be space between people, space between activity to activity, space between the environment to environment, the space between silence and speech, the space between task and task. Space is an important element. The dynamics of solitude are very subtle. We use speech very frequently. We have very good courses available across the world which can teach us how to communicate well, communication skills. I strongly feel we should start learning the silence skills and solitude skills as well. Then, where is this need? Okay. Every behavior has a background. Majority of the times we try to correct the behavior. And maybe we are not successful. We want to correct the behavior of the children. We want to correct the behavior of our colleagues. We want to correct the behavior of the other people with whom we live. And many times it becomes difficult to correct the behavior. But there is a background behind each and everything. A behavior is an outcome. If you start going back and start seeing it, there is an emotion. This emotion starts with a feeling. This feeling is an outcome of some interaction. And it is possible that it is an outcome of some trigger. And if you look at that trigger, you try to eliminate those triggers maybe in the world. Or we try to eliminate the outcomes, but that doesn't happen. What actually influences is how the person interprets what's happening around. The same expression can motivate one person, can demotivate the other person. The same expression can make a person smile or laugh and enjoy it. Another person, it can hurt. It can damage other person. So what is it? What is the loneliness? What is it that is contributing? If it is the external world, the people who are with so many people should never feel lonely. But being alone and being lonely are two different things. When anyone is experiencing loneliness, the important question the person need to ask themselves is, am I alone or am I lonely? Even with so many people, a person can feel lonely. And even being all alone, a person can feel abundant, rich of all feelings, rich of emotions, or very rich of good feelings a person can experience and enjoy it. That is solitude. So now, what is more important? Is it the situation, or is the environment where we are, or is it the way we take what is happening in our lives, which decides us towards feeling loneliness? Loneliness is not being alone, never. If so, those people who learn the art of being alone and start enjoying their life should always feel lonely. No, it doesn't happen. And people now, the present scenarios are really helping people to explore different types of environments. People are going to the villages, back to villages again, going to the remote places again. People are preferring to stay alone, of course, with respect to the safety reasons. But what is it that is contributing? How are you feeling in this situation where you are in now? A lot of social gatherings got minimized. Parties are not taking place. Interactions have become less. We are not even able to shake hands. We are going back to namaste. A beautiful way of communicating with each other. We are learning new art. We are learning the new skills. Now it has become more virtual than that of real or physical. And that difference, or that feeling of not getting connected in virtual day by day is decreasing. We are feeling it more real when we are communicating, even when we are in virtual space. All these dynamics are changing, but what's happening in the inner mechanism has a crucial role to play here. Anyone who is experiencing even a slightest state of loneliness, if the person asks, how much am I with myself? Is this situation, is there any advantage in this situation? Hey mind, why are you feeling so lonely? What's happening? I am with you. I am always with you. Other people can stay with you only for a small period of time, only for some time. But the one person who can always be with you is me. Here, I am with me. I am always with me. In all situations, as that sarva kala sarva avastha, I am with myself. In all the states of mind, conscious, subconscious, even in sleep. Who is the person who wakes up within a fraction of a second to protect you? Even when you are in sleep, even to protect yourself from the mosquito, it is you. Look at those nice things which you have in yourself. Life is a beautiful library. It has so many books. All those books, every experience is documented very nicely. This library consists all the memories. Okay. All the memories which science explains that all the memories which you have right from the childhood to till day, all are there. Retrieval sometimes becomes difficult. That's the reason, in spite of preparing well for the examinations, at the examination time, you don't remember it, you can't retrieve. That becomes a challenge. Well, everything that has happened in our life, every thought, every word uttered, every action that is performed, and every environmental thing that we are exposed to, everything is in the memory. It can be retrieved. Okay, there, if not consciously, subconsciously, you can retrieve it. And spirituality says, it is not just about this birth. Spirituality says, it is all the birth season within you. And all these memories start surfacing. Now, when these memories are surfacing, what is the quality of these memories? What type of memories are surfacing? So many good things have happened in these lives. Okay, even in this life. So many wonderful things are done by you. When I'm just opening up these memories and retrieving them, what is surfacing? If all those beautiful things are surfacing, what would be the state of mind? If all those things which have happened in our life, which are not so positive, not so good feeling, if they are surfacing, what would be the state of mind? It is very much possible that there are some nice things which have happened in our lives. It is very much possible that we have done so many good things. And it is also very much possible that there are some mistakes which have happened in our life. Are you able to forgive yourself? First of all, am I able to accept myself? If I am able to accept what has happened and learn some things, make some strong affirmations out of them. Okay, if I'm able to forgive myself for what has happened, then the mind looks forward. If that doesn't happen, there is some emptiness empty space which is getting created. Maybe that need for someone's approval, someone's acceptance, forgiveness of others, or presence of others, strong need for a vibe from others, presence of others is deeply felt. This can be one element. There can be other emotional needs. It is not just physical. There are some emotional and psychological needs which are pushing a person towards more towards that feeling of loneliness. Now, it's that time. There is always a feeling, there is something which is behind that. What is that thought, or what is that memory, or what is that element which is contributing towards this feeling is to be understood. The moment a person starts understanding that element and try to address that element, this feeling of loneliness will slowly fade away. Loneliness can't be eliminated by having the presence of the person because of whom you are feeling loneliness. And that creates still more an empty space. As it is not resolved within the person, even when the person is before, then that element, the giver can attract a giver. Okay, while we give a respect, we get respect. While we give love, we get love. While we give happiness, we get happiness. While we share affection, we do get affection. It is not the process of I get something, I need something. It is a process of I get as I give. It's a natural process. As you sow, so you reap. And it's a natural process. And that ability to wait for the seed to germinate and then grow and then give, that ability to enjoy that space, enjoy that process, comes through solitude. There are some other subtle elements, like feeling very anxious about something, inability to focus towards optimistic solutions, or mind continuously blaming situations or people around, or sometimes it is inability to appreciate what has come to us. The deep feeling of gratitude, that happiness of acknowledging what we are having at this present period of time and really feeling happy about it. All these positive elements contribute towards that abundance. Or that inability to do that, blame proneness, complaining, or always not satisfied with what's there and what's happening around, contributes towards loneliness. Loneliness is an outcome. If so, solitude is also an outcome. All the little things which we contribute every day, little by little into it, in a period of time, accumulates and creates patterns. And all these patterns result into a state of mind. That's where loneliness comes. And now, how to deal with it? Very simple. Very, very simple. You don't need a counselor. You don't need a psychologist for that. You need yourself. We need ourselves to handle this loneliness better. It's not about not having someone else's loneliness, not having myself with me is loneliness. Now, I'm sitting with myself in silence. I start appreciating myself. And the person starts looking at whatever good that has happened, whatever good feelings that are coming, the feelings of gratitude, the feelings of happiness, the feelings of acknowledging the contribution of others. There's so many things which we have taken for granted. So many things which we have taken. Nature, for example, we've taken it for granted. The importance of D vitamin, the tablets, the capsules which we take these days, especially the corona times, and the abundant D vitamin available in the nature. The value, the value of oxygen that we are having, okay, the contribution of nature. We have taken so many things into granted. Maybe sometimes we have taken ourselves as also granted. We're always raising that scale. Okay, this is a level, this is a standard of life, or this is what I'm expecting from life. Okay, life gives it, we give ourselves that. By the time it reaches, it's going up again. Now, reach to that standard, it's going up again. Reach to the standard, again it's going up. Till where? Till where? Is there any element where I can feel, now I'm satisfied? There is a figure, or there is a standard. There is something, every mind interprets it differently. And once it goes there, again it goes up, again it goes up. To what? No, we definitely need to develop in life. We definitely need to improve in life. The quality of life, the standard of life, everything. Yes, definitely one should be progressive. And not just the external element. In the whole process of progressing, another dimension should not become empty. That should also abundantly, increase internally. That feeling should grow. Okay, for example, you're on the dinner table, there's so many courses available, there are different dishes available, okay, and it is not about gulping it into the stomach, it is about feeling it. It is about tasting it. It is about feeling the love of the person who has made it for you. It is also feeling the art of the person. It is also about caring yourself, the feeling of caring yourself as you feed. This wonderful instrument is contributing towards you. You're feeding. It's about caring. It is not just gulping. It's not just fueling your fuel tank. It is about care. It is about the feel. In that way, if you are looking at a physical dimension, day-to-day activities, in doing all these things, when we are connecting with ourselves and feeling that connection, where can this loneliness come from? The external circumstances of solitude and loneliness are one and the same. An athlete is going away early morning, hitting the roads at 4 o'clock, going to the stadium, practicing, intense practicing. A person who wants to have a strong goal of education, preparing for the competitive examinations, and wakes up with their own responsibility as early as possible and starts working in it, disconnects from all the other things, focuses on something internally improving. And the person enjoys that solitude. The person doesn't complain for loneliness. Okay, a young entrepreneur who is trying to bring something new, identified a problem and trying to work on that problem and try to bring about a solution. And day in and day out, he's doing something or the other. She's working on bringing all the different dimensions and trying to solve that problem. Do you know, do they really experience loneliness? The mind is full. A doctor at this time who really has that deep intention to serve, the paramedics who are working to help out people, very deeply into that feeling. No doubt there is fear, they're scared, they want to be careful. In spite of all that, The inner connection and involvement, if that is there, then loneliness disappears. Here, we need to address what is abundant and where it is empty. There is something which is empty somewhere which has to be filled. In spite of being between everyone, we are not getting connected. There are skeptical thoughts coming. There are doubts, always skeptical about things. It is not about others, it is about ourselves. We need to work within ourselves. The external circumstances, as I was explaining, for loneliness and solitude are one and the same. In the same environment, where do I want to connect myself with? Okay, a person is leaving everything, going into a silent space, maybe going into a jungle and start doing Buddha. Look, he left everything, the kingdom. He left a beautiful, wonderful family. He was in search of something. He identified, he went into solitude. He worked and worked and worked on himself. There was days when he has gone even beyond taking food for more than 40 to 50 days. And he has become a skeleton. His whole body has become a skeleton. What is this person enjoying there? What is he doing? All alone in a remote place. What is this person doing? Leaving everything, and where the whole world is running behind reaching and getting that, and this person has left everything and doing that. There is something which the person is getting by connecting to himself or herself. He looked at it, he observed a bigger problem and tried to solve it through himself, by working through himself. That is solitude. Solitude is very, very powerful. Solitude is very, very peaceful. Solitude is abundant. Solitude is rich. Solitude gives a lot of self-esteem, self-respect. No matter the world recognizes it or not, the person recognizes it and becomes more humble. Arrogance comes when there is emptiness. Humility comes when there is abundance and richness. It's very simple. And the simplicity is to be with yourself for some time. Speak to yourself for some time. Listen to, first of all, more than speaking to, listen to yourself for some time. And then the inner voice starts speaking. It doesn't ask others. When we are not able to give time for ourselves, then the inner state of mind starts searching it from the external world. We start giving, then the need comes down. That's where Raj Yoga and the yogic meditational processes play an important role. It takes us our mind towards neutra emotion. And in that state, the most natural elements starts functioning. So, as we said in the beginning, I would like to listen some things or know some things from your end. If there are any questions, we would like to discuss on them.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. I think yes, we are getting some questions on the chat as well as on the
Okay.
chat on
I think
YouTube.
you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, brother. Can you
Just give
hear
me a
me now?
second. Yeah, I'm able to listen to you now. Right.
Okay, yes. Thank you for opening the stage for questions. Yes, we are getting questions on the Zoom chat as well as on our chat on YouTube. So I will pick up one question. So, so I think you did touch upon few things regarding it, but since it's a question, I would like to put forth before you. So Babita ji has asked why people think like people who are silent, so they are like dumb or they are not capable of replying. That is why they are silent. So can you touch upon that? You did mention that solitude is actually equal to self respect, but she takes it from what other people might be thinking of.
Okay. Mm. Okay. Someone is speaking to you, okay, in German. Okay. And fine. You are answering them in Hindi. They'll not be able to understand.
Mm.
They may say that you don't know how to speak. It's not that you don't know how to speak, but you choose to speak in a different language. And that language is a language of silence. Okay. The problem is with the other person, the person is not able to understand. That's why he or she interprets that you can't speak. No, it's not that you can't speak. You choose not to speak. There's a lot of difference between these two. You are choosing not to speak. Why? You understood that speaking is not appropriate at that point of time. The other person may interpret it. And remember one important thing. You are not waiting for someone's approval. They need not approve you whether you are a good speaker or you can't speak. That's why you're silent. Why are you waiting for their approval? It's not for their approval that you have choose to be silent. You thought that I want to be silent, so I'm silent. They interpret it different. That is their situation, their problem. Fine. So some of us may talk very less. That doesn't mean that they can't speak more. They choose to communicate so many things in few words. They don't want that noise or nonsense to come in between. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
you want to talk limitedly. You want to express it to the point.
Mm.
Okay. And you are efficient in doing that. You know it. And be happy about it. The other person says, this
Absolutely.
person can't speak, you can smile at it. And your smile is another beautiful language. Right.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I think that answered the question, and also, and like you mentioned, so being in the current time, that is actually the new language that we might have to learn and start expressing with. So moving on to the next question. So Kumudni ji asks, like you mentioned, like some people, even if they are with many people, they might feel lonely. And somebody who is in solitude, even if he's alone, but then that is something very deep, so he does not feel loneliness. So in case somebody we know who is actually feeling depressed or feeling loneliness, can we actually suggest solitude for them? Is it the right state of mind when they should practice solitude?
Fine. Okay. Now there are two things. What should I do when I'm feeling like that? What should I do when someone around me is feeling like that? Here there are two things. The first and foremost thing which we should start is listening. Okay. The whole purpose of solitude, even solitude here, is to listen. Okay. And now if someone is in that state, okay, there is some preparation which we need to make for solitude as well. Okay. These days, for example, suddenly you listen to some health tip somewhere, you learn that something is very good, and you start introducing it, and then you feel that I have to introduce everything into the life, and then you are introducing, and then body responds it differently. The reason is simple. It is accustomed to respond to some other style of diet, and suddenly you're changing, but it takes its own time to refix or realign to the new changes that you have brought. In the same way, someone is feeling depressed. Why is the person feeling depressed? There are some things which which have happened. Possibly, if it is not clinical depression, something which has happened which has affected the person, and the person wants that to be addressed and doesn't know how that has to be addressed. Okay, the person is confused. At that time, the best thing that you can do as a family member, as a friend, is to listen to the person. It is not that we are prescribing solitude for you. Come on, take this many ounce of solitude and start doing it. That doesn't work that way. The person needs some help to get into that state of solitude, and that's where a listening will help. That's where preparing him or her for solitude will really help. As a responsible person, you can just start with listening, and your listening. Okay. Okay, thank you. And as you are listening to them, the person slowly releases all those emotions and feelings. Okay, then that is first element is something is suppressed and that slowly is surfacing, and the person needs some help to open up. And then after opening up, those things slowly come outside, and now there is something which you need to help them to prepare into solitude. Like, you start helping the person to recognize all their strengths, to recognize all the good things that have what they have done. Okay, you help the person to connect with all those lovely memories of life and lovely contributions of them into the life. You help them to connect, and then you start appreciating or acknowledging their qualities, skills, abilities, and help the person to tune from a negative dimension of emptiness towards a positive dimension of all the rich and abundant things which are there in life for him or her. Now you're shifting the person towards that. Maybe you will ask them to write down, help them to write down, or you sit and start together writing down, listing down all the wonderful things that the person has done. Maybe you have 108, 110, 150 things which they have done. List out all of them, and then show to them that this much is there in you. If the person is depressed because of someone's statements, now you are showing the person those abundant things which contradict with that statement, and show the reality to the person. Now the person is able to see this shift of mind takes place, and that is the point where the person can get into solitude. And not in the beginning, where he or she is haunted with all those negative thoughts which are taking place, self-condemning thoughts which are taking place. At that point of time, if this help is provided and they are shifted towards solitude, there would be a very good result.
Thank you. That was a beautiful answer. And I think listening is the first step to help our near and dear ones, whoever is feeling that loneliness, to come out of that. So, moving on, I think I will take few points from your question and link it to two questions that we have, since we are nearing our end time as well. So you mentioned that initially you have to shift their perspective toward the abundance or the positiveness that they have. So linking this point, we have two questions: how to actually enhance the quality of our own thoughts and shift from negative to positive when we are not in that state of mind. And the next question is something like, why do we fear like solitude and loneliness? So why do we fear that thing, being alone?
Okay, beautiful question. The second question is a fantastic one. And okay, now let's start with this thought. The very first of all, let me appreciate you saying that how can I shift from negative thoughts towards positive thoughts. The very thought says that you have already decided to come towards positive. Okay, on the other hand, how to do that? Okay, now let's see how the negative thoughts built up. How did they build in a period of time? It doesn't happen as a magic that you started thinking negatively. Anyone starts thinking negatively, that did not happen suddenly. It built up. In the same way, you need to build up a positive cycle. You need to build up the positive memory. You need to build up that cycles inside, which will contribute towards positive. Okay. Maybe someone had a very bad experience with some people, because of which the person started doubting each and every person in life. Fine. Now, what should I do? Looking at every person, any situation, doubt is coming. Every sign, every situation, there is a doubt. So now what this person should do? Now, this has developed, it is suddenly developed. An incident happened that contributed some percentage. Another incident happened that contributed some more percentage. In that way, in a period of time, that cycle has started. Okay. So in the same way, if we start showing day by day, if you are creating positive rhythms, if you are creating positive cycles, okay, slowly the mind shifts from that dimension to this dimension. Meanwhile, in between there is conflict. Those thoughts would be coming, these thoughts would be coming. There should be some contradictions taking place, and there would be some conflict also taking place in between. At that time, you need to handle it for some time. And now slowly you are adding some positive cycles or positive thought patterns into yourself. And that will shift towards the other dimension. And after some time, you see that it's just shifting and it becomes autonomous. Okay, where in which your effort will be little, and then that dimension starts. And the beautiful thing is, even your dream starts becoming positive. Now, the fears. Why do we fear? The fear, the dreams, there are fear in dreams is something which is being suppressed, which is coming in that dimension. So now, why do we fear? What is this fear element? What happens when the person is getting scared of something? Or why do we fear that we will not be able to do something or the other? It is a doubt. It is, we need to show ourselves how we have done in earlier different other cases. If we are doing something totally new, then we need to show ourselves that in different new circumstances and situations where you experimented and did new things and you are able to do that. Of course, there are failures, but there are also some things where you have done it. The moment you show that spaces where you have successfully done something, mind gets ready to experiment. And mind also starts accepting a failure. And ability to accept a failure decreases the fear of failure. Okay, I need success is a biggest fear. Why do we need success? Okay, why do we, every game that you play, you need not win. It is not necessary. What is necessary is you need to enjoy the game itself. And you need to be happy about losing something as well. But you gave a best shot, you played it very well. In the same way, in our day-to-day activities also, sometimes we get, sometimes we lose, and that is okay. This mental preparation, okay, creates that ability to face different situations and things, or even the element of self bringing about a change in ourselves also. That confidence builds, and then that fear slowly decreases. And we need to remember one thing that's very, very important. Whenever there is fear, there is a lot of what you call heart rate increases. Okay, in yogic ways, it is said that whenever your heart rate is increasing, just hold it and see how much it is increasing. The moment you are looking at it, you're giving you that, even if you're touching and just looking at it, it just calms down. Have you seen the barking dog scared? It's barking, and your pet, you just go and touch it, it just calms down and relaxes. It becomes okay. You say, it's okay, it's okay. Then it soothes. There is a fear, okay? Whenever there is a fear in the mind, you need support. And if you are able to, there is an irrational element coming out because of which a fear can come, or sometimes the fear can be a very rational fear. Fear is a signal that there is something which we need to address. And if the moment you are addressing that, so the fear element comes down. You can apply this in any dimension, right?
Okay, the chat box here as well as on YouTube is rolling very fast. There are many questions coming, but I am not sure how many we would be able to take up. So,
Okay.
taking two questions from YouTube from the
One by one,
participants.
one by one. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we have, so you mentioned something for observing as a detached observer. So
Okay.
can you suggest the best tips for practicing detachment?
Okay. A detached observer is a spiritual term which is used, which is called as a Sakshi Bhava. Okay. And it has a total different purpose and dimension in a spiritual context. And can we use that in our day to day realistic situations that are happening? Now we need to understand why we need to do that. Okay. When something is happening and some argument or discussion is taking place, some situation we are in, it's quite possible and natural that we mentally involve into it, we emotionally involve into it, and we are totally get lost into it. Okay. And we are into the situation, we are totally in the influence of the situation, we are inside the problem, and then we think, brainstorm, and as we are a part of the problem, okay, sometimes our mind doesn't go out of it. So how can, see, it's possible that everyone is thinking about something and suddenly someone comes into the room and looks at everything, everyone trying to get into it, and suddenly this fresh thinking comes into the room and suddenly suggests something, and that becomes a solution. It happens sometimes. You're searching for something, you are not able to find, so other person comes, oh, it's here, just it's here, then you suddenly say, oh, it's here. So that fresh thinking comes into, so that separation from the situation, the detachment from the situation, moving away from that space and coming back to it, connection and disconnection and again reconnection, plays a very significant role. It contributes a lot. Okay, we are into the situation, we are into the problem, but we want a solution. So our mind should start thinking in a solution there. We are disconnecting from that space and connecting to some other environment, and coming back with fresh thinking into that plays a very significant role. That is the reason, even in our day-to-day activities, that detachment plays a very important role. In an emotion, okay, even in a relationship, expectations are there, and your relationships are getting strained. You want to solve it or you want to win the argument, that doesn't play. The moment you give space from that argument and just come back in few minutes and just let us into it, take some space, go back, release that emotion, detach from that emotion, become neutral and come back, and then you see that you will handle it totally in a different way. That's how we can use this concept of detachment in our day-to-day lives, which is a spiritual concept, but it has a very, very powerful psychological help it can provide. It can be a psychological tool as well.
Okay, thank you for that. So, like you mentioned, if we are feeling too engrossed in something, so that is how much we are involved. So similarly, we are sometimes involved in relationships and in our family, but some things don't work out. So the question that has been put forth is that earlier I was able to enjoy me time, and then a certain relationship got very bad,
Yep.
and now if I am taking out time to be with myself, those bad memories come and I feel loneliness, and those are like negative emotions that emerge. How to deal with this?
Lovely. So I can combine this question with the earlier question of fear. Okay. It is something like this. You said you enjoyed me time a lot. Okay. Now when you're trying to get into the me time, it is no more me time. Okay. You're just giving time, but that me time is occupied with someone's time, someone's feeling, someone's definitions, okay, about you, or someone's statements, okay, their opinions. It is no more your me time. Okay, now, earlier the question was, when I want to go into solitude, there's fear. Hey, there is something important here. Why are you unable to spend time with yourself? Something is surfacing within the self, which is very difficult to see. which is very difficult to accept, which is maybe a bit difficult to address to. So there is some memory which is surfacing either with respect to the self or is with respect to the others. Let's keep others a bit. Let's work on the self. If that memory which is coming up, which you don't want to see, which one doesn't want to address to, or doesn't want to accept, or at least acknowledge that memory is surfacing, and to avoid that memory, that's a painful experience. When that painful experience is coming, the person is trying to avoid the solitude. So where does this memory come to? The memory wants to surface and to be addressed. And who will address it? It is you who need to address it. Even if a psychologist is coming to help you, the psychologist is just facilitating a process wherein which you address it. Psychologist is not addressing it. Is only facilitating a process through which you address it. The fear, when it comes, when in solitude there is fear, that means something is surfacing which we are unable to listen to, which we are unable to acknowledge, which we are unable to feel. So that is suppression. Now what happens? You suppress it. Again, you add a layer onto it. Again, suppress it. You again add another layer on it. Again, suppress it. It goes deeper and deeper into the suppressed layers. And inside those suppressed layers, it is still there. It is getting rot there. And it is infecting. It is like that toxics which are developing inside the body. Then we need detoxification. In the same way, in solitude, these things will surface. These things are coming out. And let me tell you, this is the best thing and good thing that is happening. That is not negative. It is painful, no doubt. But it is a very good thing that is happening. Your inner voice wants to talk to you. Maybe the inner voice has some complaints also to make. Okay, listen to them. Listen, give time, listen to it. Now the beautiful thing happens. The moment you listen to it, the moment you allow that to surface, and do it gently. Don't become too defensive about it at that point of time. It is possible that there is a strong thing which it is communicating. Need not become defensive. Say, okay, I understand. It's possible. I understand. Then the inner voice opens up. And then the suppressed layers, each and every layer will start opening up. It may be a bit painful at that point of time, whether strong signals would be coming. But as it comes out, we get relieved. And that loneliness feeling is not because those feelings are surfacing. The feeling of loneliness is because we are not allowing that to come up. The moment we allow that to come up, the loneliness slowly disappears. Now, it is also a fact that we can't do anything with what we have done in the past. But at least we can acknowledge, we can feel it, and we can at least accept things within ourselves. Then we shift from that loneliness to solitude. And the same thing applies with others as well.
Yes. And I think that is something related to the probably the last question that we will take today. So, like you mentioned, memories will emerge when we are taking out time to sit in solitude, and we should not suppress them but get to the root cause of them. So, Aryan Raoji asks, we think of our childhood memories and feel good. As we grow up, we miss those days. And remember, when those memories sometimes emerge in the present, a certain amount of loneliness is felt by him. So, how do you suggest how to deal with this?
Okay, it's a nice question. No, it's something like this. In childhood, you have some wonderful memories. Fine. When those memories are surfacing, you're feeling so nice about that. Okay. And somewhere the present is not having that sweet memories. You may start feeling lonely. I have a small question. Think about this. When you're having that beautiful experiences in the childhood, were you just going through those memories, going through those situations and experiencing them? Or were you comparing with something else? When that actual situation you're passing through at that time, you're not judging it. You're actually involving into it. So you started enjoying it, and that gave a very nice experience. And now, at this point of time, you are looking at that memory with an expectation of the same type of memory you want it now. But life is dynamic, life is beautiful. And every age has a beautiful memory, beautiful experience which it delivers to us. Childhood has a very beautiful experience. Okay, pre-adolescence confusions, that's a very beautiful time. That confusion, that problem with the judgment, that what to do, what not to do, that sweet anxiety, it's a beautiful experience. And now, if you look at it, you may laugh at it. But at that time, it's a beautiful experience. And now, maybe you're in one, it's at some stage in the life. Even this stage has some beautiful, wonderful things to offer to you. And you need to be present to look at what it is offering at this point of time. Okay, for example, in the childhood, you were running a lot, you're playing, you're swimming, you're doing all those things. Okay, maybe the day when you learned the cycle, bicycling, the day when you learned to balance it. Okay, you have so many scratches on your knees, but the happiness of riding the cycle was so fantastic that you left everything and you felt that you conquered the world at that point of time. Okay, that happens, right? And now at this point of time, you may feel that I'm not able to do that. No, you will not be able to do the way you have done as a kid. That is a beautiful experience designed for that age or provided for that age. And now what this age maybe has a different beautiful experience which it wants to provide to you. Are you looking at that dimension in this way? Or are you looking at those childhood memories and you want the same thing to come? You got a lot of love from so many elders at that point of stage when you were a child, and now maybe you're not getting. No, man, this is the stage where you need to give to others. At that when you are a child, you have so many people giving it to you and you're so happy. And now you still want it. Now it's a time you give it to others. There's so many children around you. Your watchman has a child. Speak to him. Speak to her. On the street, there are so many children. There are so many children in your relatives. It is a time for you to give. This age has a different dimension. Okay, the loneliness and abundance. It's not about being, say, if anyone who is experiencing loneliness, if they experiment by thinking that there may be some other people also who are experiencing loneliness, let me help them. Okay, get into your shoes and try to start helping people who are feeling lonely. Where is your loneliness existing now? It just vanishes away. So every age has a very wonderful contribution towards our life. And if we are getting stuck up with some experience and want the same experience to come now, it may not be possible. It's a new stage, and this stage has a special offering for you. And look around, what is its offering? Look around, understanding what is it going to offer to me at this point of time. They will find so many things. Try this way. Let's see if it works out.
Perfect. Thank you so much, brother. More questions are coming, but I think we are a little short of time, and we would like to invite you for future sessions if possible, and then we can take those questions. So I request the audience to keep a watch on all the future sessions of Shanti Sarovar. You can subscribe to the channel of on YouTube, Shanti Sarovar Hyderabad, and you can visit the website www.shantisarovar.org. So you can keep a watch on the future sessions and hope that your questions get answered in the future. But do keep in touch. This virtual medium is something that we can make the best use of in these current times. Thank you so much, brother, for your insightful answers and taking so many questions. We extended our time, and I thank the audience also for staying back and keep being with us till the end of the session. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.